Thank you. I think one other question, somebody wanted to know what you think about the charges against Julian Assange and how he's being treated.
Oh, God. I think it's horrible. If I were to cast a Medal of Freedom, I would give one to Chelsea Manning, one to Julian Assange, and one to Snowden in Russia. And these are heroes in my mind. And what they're guilty of is in trying to inform the people as to what their government is doing. And that's the definition of democracy, is informing the people so that they can make intelligent decisions. And so Julian Assange, great. I mean, he's got some rough feathers. I've seen him. He's made some mistakes. He may have a supersized ego, but who doesn't when you're really into a battle? So, no, I think Julian Assange has done great service to global democracy.
Anybody watching, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. Somebody asked what you think about Tulsi Gabbard's foreign policy positions.
I like it. The foreign policy, which is the primary foreign policy, is to oppose regime change. And I think regime change is ridiculous. She's also opposed she wants to close military bases. We have 800 military bases around the world. It's pathetic. Here we go. Compare us to China. China has got the Belt and Road, and what they want to do is to be able to raise economically the people of the world by improving roads, improving communications, improving ports, all of that. And so, what are we doing? We're the ones that sell most weapons in the arms bazaar of the world. If you want to make a comparison with Russia and China and the United States, you have to have an overview, because we get so much bias and of course the mainstream media is controlled by Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. So we've been dumbed down into thinking. But if you want to look at the situation with China, Russia, and the United States, you look at their military budgets. That's what you do. What are they spending their money on? Well, Russia is less than 10% of the American budget. China is pushing 15% of the American budget. So where are they a threat to us in any real sense? They're not. If they were a threat, they'd be arming themselves to the teeth and they'd be spending more money. Oh, sure. They both got, you know how many nukes China has? Intelligence tells us that they have 200 nukes. How many do we have? 7,000. You begin to look at this and you double take it. And what the hell's going on? What are they writing about? And then what disturbs me is there are two things that are going to destroy the planet. Is nuclear. And of course, what did Obama do? He started the refurbishment of the nuclear establishment, spending $1.7 trillion to beef up the nuclear capability. And of course, that means that we're going to spend more on submarines, more on airplanes, more on all of this stuff. And it's not 1.7 trillion. If you know the record of the Pentagon, where they have cost overruns that are 100, 200%, well, what we're talking about is maybe $3-4 trillion that we're spending on a weapon that's not usable. Why do I say it's not usable? If anybody used a weapon, it would create a nuclear winter, and so we would destroy the planet. And so when people say we've got to have a retaliatory capability, don't worry about retaliating, you'll be dead. So why spend the money on retaliating? And what, China's with their 200 weapons are going to go out? Then you hear about the South China Seas. China has got one aircraft carrier and they're building another one. We got 11. Yeah. Okay, so who's really out there in the South China Sea? Well, what happened? The Chinese are very clever. They dug the soil near the islands and made these islands larger, where they can put airfields on. So what the number of islands, I forget but probably they have maybe 10 or 5 or 10 with these islands, and what they are, they're unsinkable aircraft carriers. That's what they are. Yeah. They got an airfield, and they're unsinkable because the Chinese are only interested in the well-being of the South China Sea, because that is their livelihood. The shipping lanes, the South China Sea. And so what we would do is, if we were at war, and they know this strategically, that the Straits of Malacca would be cut off to the Chinese. Singapore is an ally of the United States, so that would be a problem. So the Chinese don't want any war. What they want to do is make products and use their industry to bring the people up economically in the world, the way they did. And this is an awesome statistic. China, in 3 decades, has raised 500 million people from poverty to middle class.